And welcome back to the Financially Simple Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread, and today, Mr. Brandon Jordan is joining me once again to talk about this idea of success teams. How are you, brother?
Living the dream, man. How are you?
Buddy, I am too blessed to be depressed on this beautiful, actually, it's rainy here in East Tennessee, but let me tell you, I'm so glad it's raining because guess what, brother?
You planted.
We have corn growing on Rocky Top. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that, man. So we need some rain to help us get the corn growing on Rocky Top. How's the weather up there in the Boston area?
You know what? God chose to bless us the last couple of days. It's been fantastic.
That's
There's
awesome.
something about sunshine.
So, Brandon, I got to ask you, man, have you ever seen that crazy skit from Abbott and Costello where he goes, who's on first? I don't know. No, he's on third. All that fun jazz back and forth. You ever seen that, man?
If I say yes, are you going to try to imitate the voices?
Maybe.
Then no. No, but yes, I have seen that. I think a lot of folks have.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't have a clue what we're talking about, there's an old comedian set named Abbott and Costello who did an unbelievable little skit, so to speak, about a baseball team. And they started off with who and then went to what was on second, and I don't know is on third, and why was left field, and because is the center fielder, and the pitcher is tomorrow, the catcher is today, and I don't care is shortstop. It's an amazing little skit that if you've never watched it, you got to check it out on YouTube. It'll have you rolling. It's really, really classic American humor. I mean,
and clean humor.
Oh, it's clean, absolutely. When's the first time do you remember when you first saw that skit?
I think I was in early high school, maybe.
Early high school. I think it's from my pops. My dad, if we call him Pops, he loved Abbott and Costello. That and Red Skelton. You ever heard of Red Skelton?
Oh yeah.
so just some fun humor. Why do I bring that up? Well, last week on the success teams part of the podcast, we talked about a success team, and today we had the idea we're going to introduce the success team, with the idea, Brandon, being that every business owner needs to surround themselves with certain players, certain professionals, certain members of their team. We've coined the success team to help them achieve the ultimate sale or to help them achieve their desired outcome. Is that a good way of framing it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you and I have also talked about as well, like being a business owner can feel super lonely, right? It need not feel that way, right? We can build a team around us that can help address a lot of that and help us improve the odds of us as business owners getting the outcome we want.
So I know you and I cannot follow an Abbott Costello's type of humor as we go through this. There's no way we can do them justice. But let's use baseball as an analogy today, okay?
Yep.
This idea being that that there are multiple players on the diamond or on the field, so to speak. You know, hey, it's an interesting point for you, Brandon. Did you realize that baseball is one of the only few games where the defense controls the ball?
It's awesome, isn't it?
You ever thought about that? It's one of the few.
No, I've never thought about it that way, but that's intriguing.
You know, so football, whether it's American or European football, it's the offense who controls the ball. Tennis, it gets very intriguing when defense is controls the ball, the defense in baseball. So if we use this diamond, you know, we have home plate, right? We have first base, second base, and third base. We're not talking about like little kids who run around from third to second, first. We're actually talking about the game here. We're going to play them around the center. And then we have our outfielders, right? We have left, center, and right field. And there's a couple of other players on the field, a couple of other people on the field, like your umpires and your coaches, et cetera. But let's use this diamond, this game of baseball here in America and around the world that we love as a staple in our mind's eye for today's conversation. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, if we do that, where would you place the business owner at?
Great question. I believe, it's my opinion, that they're the pitcher. They're the ones in control. Okay. And part of helping me think this in my head, like how do we build a mechanism to help the pitcher, was I remember watching an interview shortly after the MLB changed its mechanisms where the winner of the All-Star game got to have home field advantage. Right. So now it wasn't just for show anymore. There's some chips on the table now. And I remember one of the starting pitchers being interviewed, and the person asking him, I think it was Pedro Martinez, I don't know, I can't remember, I need to give credit to somebody, was asked, are you nervous about starting the All-Star game? And the pitcher's response, like tongue-in-cheek, was, am I nervous? Are you kidding me? What do I have to be nervous about? Do you know who's playing behind me? And that stuck with me, Justin. Okay.
He's mentioning the defense behind him. So he's talking about the first base, second base, shortstop, outfielders, third base. That's what he's referring to.
Correct. I mean, this pitcher had complete and total unfettered confidence in all the folks behind him that were there to do their job, were best in class at what they do. Therefore, he just had to focus on what he's good at. He didn't have to win the game himself.
Well, that would lead to believe then that if the client is the pitcher, then in your analogy, then I could surmise that the client needs to have an all-star team around him.
I think that's the logical conclusion.
Okay. So let's start there at home plate. What position, typically it's the pitcher and the catcher who are doing a lot. And, we prize the no-hitter, right, in baseball. Right. I mean, I've actually witnessed one of those in my lifetime. I was actually at a Braves game in person where a no-hitter was pitched. It was amazing to watch, right? And so you watch the catcher and the pitcher back and forth nonstop. And literally the first base, second base, and the rest of the outfielders and third and short, they were like twiddling thumbs. I mean, they were all ready every moment. But, dude, they didn't do anything the whole game. But then we prized it because this game literally happened between a pitcher and a catcher. So that being said, if the pitcher is the client, then who is that person that's most in contact going back and forth between the pitcher and who's the catcher?
Great question. So first and foremost, if you could read my thoughts right now, they're not really nice. The fact that you got to witness a no-hitter, like
let me tell you one other thing before you answer the question. Sure. I was there whenever the Braves got ready, because remember the Braves, we grew up in Atlanta. I mean, I grew up in Georgia. You and I both did. The Braves were our team, and we were back there whenever Glavine and Smoltz and all the Maddox. I mean, dude, Maddox. He had a foul mouth, but man, the guy could pitch, I was there whenever Otis Nixon robbed I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he literally hung up over the wall. His armpit was as high as Turnerfield, the old Turnerfield, and he reached over the wall and robbed the winning homer that would have been to put the Braves into the playoffs. It was an amazing point in my life. I mean, I think it might have been the Pirates, but I may be wrong on that one.
I was playing a game at that point. We actually paused the game to watch the end of the game. The actual game.
Do you remember the game I was talking about, though, when Otis Nixon was over?
I very vividly remember that catch.
Yeah. I was there at that one. Those were some good memories, buddy.
Again, bad thoughts I'm having. So the role of the catcher is a super vital role, and you want it to be someone that has the vision to understand the role that each of the members of the team play. And there's not many people in our profession who do that. I think, we have a little bit of bias in my next comment, but I think your certified financial planner is the person who is most adept at doing that, because he or she or they knows it's a very broad curriculum that we have to study. So we know a fair amount about tax. We know a fair amount about legal. We know a fair amount about insurance. We know a fair amount about a lot of things, enough to know that we are not the ones who are giving the advice, but we will stay in our lane. But we're pretty adept at determining who's actually, of the other professionals, who's good at what they do. We get to see the whole game, the whole field.
So years ago, I had a colleague by the name of Cabbage. His last name was Cabbage. Okay, great guy. He's actually he's a dear friend to this day. In fact, I longed to go elk hunting with my buddy, but he played catcher at a semi-pro position, and he would tell me that literally the catcher would run the entire game with their signals. The catcher would watch for the players trying to attempt to steal bases. The catcher would play the called the trick plays. Right. The catcher would keep the entire team pretty much pointed into the same direction with their fingers or their position or the way that their eyes would move, the way they would adjust their helmets. I mean, he was telling me some of the crazy things they would do. And by the way, friends, if you're a catcher or ever played a catcher in baseball, props to you, number one. But number two, leave us a comment below and brag on yourself and why catchers are so amazing. So if you're on YouTube, just click below. If you're watching this on the podcast, leave us a comment. Let us know why catchers rock it out on the baseball field. But, Brandon, if I'm hearing you right, the CFP, you're kinning them, so to speak, or comparing them to a catcher. Is that the reason for it, of what I've heard that catchers do on the baseball field?
To me, I think there's a very perfect correlation there, right? We are uniquely positioned to have full visibility and be able to call the entire game.
Okay, so we have the catcher at home plate. It wasn't too long ago that we had, well, I'm now going to show my age, whenever we had the home run playoff. Remember whenever the guys were trying to hit, you had Barry Bonds and who was it? I can't remember the other first baseman. My mind just went blank. The first base, these guys, they were all the time trying to see who could hit the most home runs of all times. I think one of them got in trouble for juicing a little bit, but ended up these.
Mark McGwire.
Mark McGwire, there we go. Mark McGwire. These guys were nonstop first basemen. They were the power hitters. In fact, oftentimes I've noticed inside the lineup, the hitting lineup, that the first baseman would be number 4. They're the ones who are like the power hitter that comes in. Cecil Fielder, I remember watching him as a kid. Loved to watch that man play. These guys were big and bulky. They were made to just smack that ball and ever loving and just make it go out of the stadium in some places. So if we're dealing now with this analogy of this baseball stadium, and now we're going to that first base, the power hitter, I mean, that person who carries the weight of the team, who would you place there?
In my opinion, I think it's our CPAs, our forward-thinking tax planning CPAs. Because I've heard you say, I never thought of it until I actually heard it on the podcast the first time, but the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, is the greatest wealth creation vehicle in the country.
Yeah.
We should have that dependable person that's involved in almost every play that we do.
Yeah, that's the first baseman. If there's a ground out, that first baseman has got to be spot on in order to make the stretch out there and get whatever they need to be. One of the things that I've often noticed when I look at first baseman, which is often similar in my position to the CPA, is they have to be nimble and flexible. You said forward thinking. I got to tell you, man, if I see another stinking CPA who has this not invented here syndrome, it ticks me off. I'm talking about loyally gets me pissed at the team whenever I see a CPA who says not invented here. Am I thinking wrong in that forward thinking that they're just like a first baseman, they've got to be nimble and flexible and be able to hold that position down?
I think you're absolutely right. And, you and I both over the years have come to develop appreciation for, I'll call them real CPAs. Because saving taxes last year is super important. Don't get me wrong. Right. But if we drive our car trying to look where we were, we're not going to get where we want to go. We want people who understand the compliance side of it, because that is mission critical, but we want the planning side, right? Taxes over our lifetime, not just last year.
So let's continue around the diamond. Second base is a position that I've always loved to watch. They don't typically rove out as far as shortstop, but they have a vital position, especially in turning double plays. I love to watch them move around a little bit. They're typically an okay hitter. They may not be a nimble hitter. They're just, a good RBI type player, but they're pretty nimble. They can switch around, and they're really good at just holding that ball, that glove right there whenever someone tries to steal from first to second. So if we're putting a nimble player, somebody that's maybe not the superstar that gets a lot of the credit sometimes, right? But they're just there. They're good. Who would you place in that position?
So to me, these are not your human highlight reels. Okay, right? These are the folks I just want behind me. In my mind, I look at them as like our insurance experts.
Okay.
We know risk transfer is super important in business, but I don't like to think about it. Do you like to think about it?
No.
So do you love talking about it with clients? Nope. Right. But we know it's super important. I want someone on my team because there's a lot of plays that happen in and up through the middle. I want somebody I can count on. Just do your job. I don't need you to be flashy. Just do your job.
Insurance is one of those things that frustrates me. It really does, because I feel oftentimes that I'm insurance poor. We've heard business advisors or business clients, say, man, I'm insurance poor. Every time I turn around, this insurance guy's trying to sell me something, or gal's trying to sell me something. I don't think we're talking about someone like that, are we?
No. Like, there's a difference between sales professionals and professionals.
Yeah. So we're talking about the insurance professionals. Now, Brandon, if I'm not mistaken, this could be 1, 2, 3, or 4 different types of professionals right here. Is that correct?
I would suggest it probably should be.
What types would you might have as insurance advisors?
So let's think about the catastrophe or the casualty side, like someone who specializes in business commercial lines insurance. Yeah. Right? I know enough to be dangerous. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
For the client. So I would like someone who specializes, who's made it his or her mission to be best in class there. The other is the group benefit side of the insurance, like the health insurance, all that stuff, which I love the people who that's their passion. God bless them.
That's the one insurance I just refuse to even learn anything about is health insurance, because it's like no matter what you do, you're not going to be happy about it. You're going to be pissed about it. Especially if you try to do a group plan. Yeah. So we've got the commercial PNC, we've got the health insurance. I would also say we probably have the individual, like your home auto and stuff like that.
All of that stuff.
Correct. You probably are going to have some type of personal lines that deals with life, disability, long-term care, things of that nature.
Yep. So personal lines, liability insurance, commercial lines, liability insurance, the group benefits insurance stuff. I would even argue that maybe having, someone who specializes in the personal owned like life and disability insurance, because that's an animal in and of itself too. So
Yeah.
lots of non-flashy folks, but just deep experts.
So we're talking about the success team players here, Brandon. We started out at home plate because the client is in the pitcher position.
Yep.
And so the CFP or the coach, as I often call them, but they're the home plate. They're the person calling the shots they're the first person that the client goes to. Then you have the powerhouse, the CPA on first. You have the insurance advisor on second. Who's on third? Actually, who was on first? Don't get me wrong, Alvin Costello, but what position or what designation should be at short?
I see. To me, I short or third.
Let's do short. Let's do shortstop.
All right. So short, the ones that I think can be tremendously valuable and flashy is our trust and estates attorneys.
Yeah.
Right. We need real deep expertise there. Like in my experience, when I see that there's an attorney who holds himself or herself out to be an expert in all things, I encourage people to grab your briefcase. You don't walk away, you run away.
Yeah.
It's just hard. You can't be good at all things. So they can do some wonderful work, these trust and estates attorneys.
Well, we were talking with somebody this last week, a prospective client who called us from a different state, and they're probably going to engage the teams for ultimate planning services. And they were mentioning a business attorney. I'm assuming a business attorney is a slightly different than a trust estate attorney. Where would you place them on the diamond, so to speak?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I do separate them differently in my head. So I look, a business or a corporate attorney. I would have them at third base because to me, it is likely that they're going to be used, and that is oftentimes when the hardest hits come down the line. You need someone who is tough, right? Informed and tough, because unfortunately, when you're a business owner, litigation is part and parcel to running a business. If you want to minimize your risk of getting sued, it's real simple. Go out of business, right? If that's not the case, make sure we have somebody who's good on the team who can handle that heat when it comes at them.
So whenever I met Emily, you'll love this story. This is a useless story for you people who like to listen to us on a regular, but you people, I sound like Ross Perot. Remember Ross? Well, you probably don't remember. You might be old enough to remember Ross Perot when it was where he said, "You people," and there's like, "Who do you mean, you people?" I just had that flashback. Whenever I met Emily for the first time, this is way back in 2002, was in a wrestling match with one of my friends, and we knocked out my bottom 3 teeth. So my bottom 3 teeth in my front of my mouth are fake. I'm not saying that. I remember getting my real teeth in like the week before I went and met Emily for the first time. We've been talking for months on end, and it was the beginning of softball season. Let me tell you, our church softball team rocked. We went to several districts. We made it to state one time. It was a lot of fun to deal with. But I used to play third base. And I can remember so hard the fact that those balls from these big old jacked up dudes, right? Because they didn't care about testosterone, that stuff. I mean, these guys were huge. They would come in there and they would smack that softball straight down the third base line. And every time they would come at me, all I can remember was my mouth. And I would like put the glove down and turn my head, which you're not supposed to do. I mean, you're supposed to eat it and you run with it. But my arm wasn't strong enough. I had a really weak arm back in the day, and I could barely get it across the diamond, but I was fast. So I could wove anywhere. Then they moved me to shortstop. But you're exactly right. That third base, dude, you get crucified at third base. Chipper Jones. Remember Chipper?
Oh, I
Watching
do.
the Braves? Dude, he would just get crucified nonstop from the hard hits coming from the opposing team. And so you're thinking that a business attorney fits there because they just can eat it, they can dish it out, and they can just deal with those day-to-day hits?
They are phenomenal at helping us think through how we structure our business from the get-go and how we manage it from a corporate governance standpoint. And in addition to that, in most cases, if there's some litigation that comes our way, they're oftentimes adept there as well.
So let's go to our outfield. Okay.
Yep.
Left field is behind third base, for those who are not familiar with it. Left field, if I'm not mistaken, receives more fly balls than any other position in the outfield. They typically have a strong arm because they're moving it from far outfield to home plate. I've seen several players be able to just gun it straight from far left field up against the wall all the way to home plate. It's amazing how fast they can throw that baseball. Who would you place as that critical major fielding position in left field as on the business advisory side?
So in my mind, I see them as, the professional who is committed to and capable of helping our business owners build a scalable and transferable business. Okay, this was one of the things that, led me to to really reach out to you guys before we ever met was, in the world of financial, in our other part of our world, when people say they work with business owners, that usually means they help them establish and fund a buy-sell agreement, implement a qualified plan, and move on.
Yep.
That's not serving, right? It takes someone with a unique skill set, like the one that I'm familiar with is like a certified value growth advisor that is well trained in the 8 core areas of growing and operating a business. So that's where I would place them.
So you'd put the CVGA, which is one of my credentials I have, and I know it's one that you'll be earning here before too long. If you'd put that position out in left field to handle the fly balls, that's the person you would put behind the client that you just know that they've got your back on this position.
Yep. Okay. That's where I would want them.
Okay. Who would you put center field?
Center field is a little bit of a flashy one. A super important one. We need to depend on them. And I don't know, every business you've started, I don't know many business owners who've ever started a business that didn't have some idea of eventually exiting the business.
Right.
Yeah. You need to have an idea. How do you exit before you even get in? So the exit planner, the one who is gifted at how do I transfer my business internal to family, internal to employees, or external? That's my center fielder. Super dependable, need them, want them and need them.
What's interesting is we just had Matthew Williams join us. He's a certified exit planning advisor. He has a different credential than I do. I have a CEPA. He has a CEXP, I think it is. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's like a doctor, a DDS versus a DMD. It's like the same exact credentials, just 2 different locations. He and I were talking not too long ago, Brandon, about the fact that so many certified financial planners who are at the home plate in our analogy here just don't get the idea. They don't understand what it takes to help a client whose number one asset is their business to move it from an illiquid asset to a liquid asset. So you're thinking that center fielder. I'm thinking Ken Griffey Jr., right? I mean, the guy was a stacked up dude out there in center field. You're thinking you need someone out there that's going to be your exit planner.
I think so. I think it's a mission critical position for any and all business owners to have on your team.
Whenever I would play T-ball, when I first began T-ball, dude, you remember the little fields, and you put the ball in the thing and you didn't know which way to run. You run to second, sometime run to third. You would put the kid in the outfield and right field who liked to chase butterflies. Right? Because nothing ever went to right field. And then if you could somehow figure out how to get it to right field, you got a guaranteed homer. Mm-hmm. Whenever I started watching professional ball, it wasn't the case, dude.
No.
The right fielder was just as stacked as the left fielder or the center fielder. And many times they were pivotal in throwing the ball or throwing the person out at second base, because so many times your left-handed hitters would try to smoke one out to right field just to do a stand-up double. But that right fielder, if he had a cannon on the side, he could throw him out at second base. And I watched so many highlight reels. Who or what position would you put in right field that you got to have a cannon to bring them onto the team to help you protect yourself?
So I have to admit that this position player is one that was relatively new for me, that I actually came across via an oops, and has demonstrated tremendous value. I look at them as like an outsourced CFO. So I think our team now knows that I have a master's in accounting, so I like accounting. Math just works, right? And I don't know about you, Justin, but how many times have you gone to meet with a business owner and asked for financials, and you get like a deer in headlights look? Okay, where are they? What do they mean? And I've oftentimes met with owners that they may say they have a CFO, but oftentimes that's in title only, not necessarily in terms of professional competency. Someone just sort of got promoted through. If I meet a business owner or a business that has a controller, now I start to get excited. I'm probably going to get some good workable data there, but just truth be told, most don't have it and most can't afford it. So there's I don't know how new it is. It was new to me, but it's called an outsourced CFO that can truly, truly help the business owner clean up his or her books and begin to make data-driven decisions.
So let me play this field back,
mm-hmm.
and let me see if I'm on the same page as you for my memory here. We placed the client at pitcher because the client ultimately controls the game. The client gets their calls, so to speak, from the CFP in this case. And the client has the right to waive off the call.
Correct.
But the CFP is looking at the field and trying to make sure he understands how the field's look, because the pitcher doesn't know exactly where the where the right fielder, left fielder, second baseman are lined up. The catcher is the one trying to move the pitcher around. So to start with, we have the pitcher, we have the client at the pitcher position, the CFP at the catcher position. We move to first, and we have the CPA. We move to second, we have the insurance advisors.
Correct.
When we pass to going to the shortstop, going to third, our shortstop is our trust and estate attorneys, and our third baseman is the one who can handle all the heavy hits, is our business attorney.
Correct.
Okay. If I'm looking left field to right field, as we introduced them, in left field, we have your business coach or your value advisor, the person who's there to help you grow your number one asset. The center fielder, the flashy individual, is the person who's there to prepare your number one asset for sale.
Correct.
And then we have our outsourced CFO, which concludes this. The outsource concludes our field. They're the ones in right field who are there to help us prepare for that ultimate sale as well.
I think so. And there's one thing that I didn't say before that I'd be remiss if we didn't revisit, the role of the catcher, the CFP. That role, when it's the right person, can be very, very good at direct communications with the other members of the team. They need not make the pitcher handle all of it. Like, we don't need the pitcher, our business owner, to become the bottleneck in their own success.
As we're looking at this field, we have a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of expense, possibly. How in the world does the client stomach the fact that they have this many professionals on their team? Let me kind of give you, as you're thinking about it, let me give you some time frame for this. At Heritage Investors, we have over four different law firms that represent our company. It drives me crazy when I look at the amount of money we pay lawyers. We have 2 different insurance agents that represent our company. We have an outsourced CFO who helps do the books of our company. We have exit planners inside and outside the company. We have insurance agents. We have CPAs, and we have all these different players. And man, when I start looking at the cost, I got to tell you, man, it's mind-boggling to me that I have these costs involved. If you're a business owner and you're listening to Brandon Jordan and Justin Goodbread, Brandon, how do you help a business owner realize that we're going to have some cost for professionals in order to be best in class?
So I'm of the opinion that there will always be costs for professionals, right? We just depends on where we incur them in our career. The other thing I strongly subscribe to, my core conviction is that what we talked about last time, that unique ability. As a business owner, like if I try to tell myself that I can, my analogy that I've used in the past is somebody mowing my lawn, right? If I am billing it, call it $500 an hour, and I convince myself that I should go mow my lawn myself, thinking I saved $100, but I didn't save anything, Justin. I cost myself $400 an hour, right? And the other thing that's important to me is I think we both share the conviction that the small business owner is the one who makes this country work. Is that fair? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I believe that, you believe that. So therefore I want to make sure I'm doing my part to help more people achieve that. Right. And then, I got 3 kids, you've got 3 kids. At some point I want them to want to maybe become an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean work with me, but go do something on their own, take the risk. Well, if all they see is dad or mom working at all times, always carrying the stress, trying to play shortstop and third base and second base under the guise of saving money, well, they're never going to want to replicate that. And then we're going to all end up raising a bunch of good little employees, and I don't mean that, it sounded negative. I didn't mean it negative, but it's important to me. I want kids who want to go try to do something with their life. So I don't look at it as, it is an outflow, but it is not an expense. It is an investment in what I am trying to achieve with my business.
You bring up an interesting point, and we haven't talked about one key element to the game yet. Well, yeah, of course we can name the bat boy or the bat girl, right? We could do that. But there's one key thing that makes baseball so much fun to watch. And that's the stands. That's the fans around us, dude. And, I can remember going to the Atlanta Braves Stadium. I haven't been to the new stadium down in Atlanta, but the Turner Field, the old one, not the second one. I mean, the old one that was in downtown ghetto Atlanta, right, before they built the second one. And now the third one down there in my lifetime. I can remember going to the old one and seeing the tomahawk chop the first time. No, right? I mean, I'm not going to sing because it was great. I remember the wave. I remember the beach balls coming out. All that. Then you see the beanbag races. I mean, all that fun stuff. You smell the popcorn. I mean, it's just an experience, right?
Yep.
This game of entrepreneurship, this game of business owners, we are surrounded by a fan a group of fans that I've experienced in this COVID crisis more than ever, man. I think if I were going to, and tell me if I'm wrong on my thinking here, if I were placing the fans, here's who I've noticed recently in not only our business, you're in our business, but also the business owners that we have the honor and privilege of serving. I've noticed their clients, our clients are in the fans. They want to see the company, the business owner succeed. I've noticed our family is in the stands, right? They're right there at home plate. They're watching every strikeout that we throw. I mean, they're there cheering us on. They're feeling it. They're feeling the passion of the game. They're watching every single aspect, and they're cheering us, right? But dude, our customers, our family, our friends, watching Facebook and watching our social media channels, Brandon, and just our friends sharing information about, hey, check out what Heritage Investors, Heritage Business Advisors are putting out today. You got to check these guys out. They're out there cheering us on. Candidly speaking, in our business, we have regulators, and candidly, they're cheering you on because they want to see good triumph over evil, right, in our position. You have the media, and I know the media gets a lot of bad rap, but people honestly and genuinely want good information. So oftentimes, as you said earlier, I, a business owner, often feel lonely. And when I look around me, I can see my professional friends. I can see my advisors behind me, in front of me, all around me as I stand on the pitcher plate, right? On that pitcher's mound, getting ready to just throw the ball. But whenever I take a moment, Brandon, as I have during this COVID situation, and just pause and listen, dude, I am surrounded by a fanfare of people who want to see success. They want to see us win. They want to see us do good business. Am I off the mark, man, or is that kind of what you see?
I think that's a very apt description as well. And let me ask you this. Which one of those versions is more fun for you? Where you're lonely or where you have this team cheering you on?
I'll do the team.
By far, right? Yeah. Which one, if you were excited to get to go to work, you think that improves the odds of your success or what?
I don't think it includes the odds of my success only, but I think it also improves the odds of success of every person I have the honor and privilege of touching in my life, right?
It's contagious. Success is contagious.
So as we move forward then with the success stories, right? We talked about the idea of success last week. We're now introducing this team. Before we start bringing on business owners to share their success stories, I want to spend one more episode, next episode, Brandon, diving into how to build this team. How would I vet out the CPA? How would I vet out the insurance agent? How would I go about, what would I be looking for as far as credentials on this trust attorney position? Are we looking for a JD? Are we looking for an LLM? What are we looking for there? What credentialing are we looking for? Do we build it by ourselves? Do we actually go get the CPA? Who do we bring on? What happens if I already have an unbelievable outsourced CFO, but I don't have a CPA or a CFP involved? How do I then take as this pitcher who is getting ready to build a success team, how do I build it? I want to spend our next episode doing that. And then at that point, I think we're probably going to dive into actually having business owners come in and talk about their success story and how they've reached their particular goal. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it sounds like a great idea. And I look forward to working through it together.
It'll be a fun time. So friends, I hope this helps you. Check out the podcast on Financially Simple if you're on YouTube. On iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you may go. iHeartRadio for some reason gets a ton of downloads. I don't know why. Maybe you're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and you want to see how beautiful I am. Brandon, not so much, but if you want to see how beautiful I am, then go to YouTube. Check out youtube.com. You can see the video of this podcast. Leave us comments. Please subscribe. Please leave us a review if you like this particular episode. We're looking forward now to having success stories. In fact, our team is putting a filtering process in place. Maybe that's you. Maybe you said, man, Justin, we rocked it out during the COVID situation. Or, you know what, I had a business one time and I sold it. Let me tell you what I learned from it. Or, you know what, I've had what some people might call failures. I call it success because remember, Michael Jordan missed a lot of free throws before he became the best, in my opinion, in the world of basketball. Maybe you say, look, Justin, I failed. I fell straight on my face. Let me learn from that. That's a success story to me. Like this, that makes no sense. It does to me in my little twisted, quirky mind. So maybe you're somebody out there listening to us and you've got a success story. I want you to reach out to us on financiallysimple.com. We'll have a link there at some point here in the next couple of weeks for you to make an application for your success story. Brandon, I'm going to ask you this question, man. In today's topic, we talked about this group of players. I need one pearl of wisdom from you. This is your last dying breath. Please don't die. But this is your dying breath, and you're going to leave this out to business owners based on today's conversation. What would that one nugget be?
Please do not look at this as an expense. Look at this as an investment. Take the time to build your team. It will not happen overnight, but I give you my word, it is worth your effort.
Sweet. And with that, friends, look, we realize life is hard, life is frustrating, and life is good. It's raining. The corn is growing on Rocky Top. It doesn't get any better than that. I'm so excited about that. I'll have to keep you in the loop on Instagram. If you go there, check it out at Justin Gerber and follow me on Instagram. I'll give you some great corn photos. I mean, it's like watching paint dry, but it's a lot of fun for me. Look, I realize life is frustrating. Money doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It's a choice. We're going to be here to continue to make your lives at least financially simple. Until next time, hey, y'all go out and make it. It's not going to happen by accident. You got to make it a great day. Y'all take care.